We're going to begin with important news for millions of parents. Pfizer says its COVID vaccine is safe and works at a lower dose for children 5 to 11 years old. The company says it will seek emergency use authorization, and shots could be available as soon as Halloween. It's a big development right now. Children account for more than 1 in 4 new COVID infections, and it comes as the U.S. passed another sobering milestone. COVID has now killed more than 675,000 Americans. That's more than the estimated death toll from the 1918 flu, and they had no vaccine back then. The other big headline today, President Biden is easing airline restrictions, letting more travelers come in from Europe and other regions, provided they're vaccinated and test negative. So we've got a lot of new reporting for you tonight. CBS's Mola Lenghi is going to lead us off from New York City. Good evening, Mola.
Well, good evening, Nora. The new Pfizer data suggests that its vaccine provides robust COVID protection for the tens of millions of young Americans who are still ineligible for the shot. Just today, this middle and high school in Manhattan closed for a week because of a COVID outbreak. But help could soon be on the way.
Tonight, there's a dose of good news from Pfizer. 5 to 11-year-olds are one step closer to getting vaccinated. Results from a recent clinical trial showed they had strong immune responses to the COVID vaccine with minimal side effects.
We have a vaccine dose that is well tolerated, safe, and generates an antibody response that's likely to protect against COVID-19.
What's next? Where do we go from here?
The next step is to assemble all this information and submit it to the FDA by the end of this month.
The proposed child shot would be a third of the dose approved for anyone 12 and up.
We, as a family, decided to try to move forward.
Dr. Richard Chung enrolled his 2 sons in Pfizer vaccine trials.
If they wanted to rush it, they could have, but this shows that that rigor is not lacking.
Joshua is 8. He didn't know whether he received the vaccine or a placebo.
I was really excited to get myself protected from coronavirus.
The need for a vaccine for young people is urgent. Weekly new COVID cases in children have jumped by more than 150% in the last month, as the U.S. still struggles to contain the pandemic. Despite a national average of nearly 2,000 COVID deaths a day, the Biden administration today announced it'll lift travel restrictions on fully vaccinated tourists from overseas beginning in November. Dr. Scott Gottlieb is a former FDA commissioner and sits on Pfizer's board of directors.
At this point, there's so much virus around the world, I'm not sure what we're keeping out.
Also today, protocols are being shifted in New York City public schools. Random testing of unvaccinated students will be performed weekly instead of twice a month. And beginning next week, unvaccinated students exposed to a positive case will no longer have to quarantine if they were masked and socially distant.
This allows us to strike the balance of both keeping kids safe while ensuring that that kids remain in school when it is safe for them to do so.
Well, it's unlikely that children under the age of 5 years old will be eligible for a vaccine before the end of the year. And Dr. Gruber with Pfizer tells us that ultimately, boosters will likely be needed for all children, although, Nora, there is no timetable on those shots.
All right, Mola Lenghi, thank you so much.